What's happening, guys? Happy Sunday. I hope you've all had an amazing weekend. We're back with another Sunday analysis video. Just want to start off by saying a massive thank you to all the support on the last video. If we can get the same support this week, that would be amazing. Remember, it's super helpful for us in the algorithm to get to people that haven't seen our videos before, that we can help become more consistent. And it also shows us that you guys enjoy the content that we're creating. Of course, before we get into things, remember, if you want to be a part of our community, link for the Discord is down below. Let us know in the comments if you do enjoy this video. Furthermore, let's get into it, guys. So, let's start where we always start the Sunday analysis, and that is from last week's overall markup and breakdown. So if you want more detail on these and you want to go read the literature, then you can find these on the Trading View. This is my Trading View, Ross Hayes, right here. The link for this, of course, is down in the description. And if you want, again, a more visual way of enjoying the analysis here, last week's video is out on the YouTube. So, from last week's analysis, we were expecting price to continue the higher time frame bullish structure that we had stated overall was guiding price up into new highs. You can see this by having the bias of running this high and taking out the previously created high. Now, we do expect price to shift bearish across the higher time frames eventually. Now, the reason for this is because we have a bias of short on this pair when it comes to the daily and the weekly charts. So we're waiting for the hourly to shift. Now, of course, this is the 4 hour, as many of you know, and we're waiting for this to shift. So we gave the idea out that we could run down, break structure, and then play lower. We could run down, play off the low of this range, and then break high. Or we could break high, and if we broke high, ultimately, we would have to wait and see what the ranges that were delivered and so on. Remember, we can't predict every single movement. We have to have an idea of what we want to see and what we're willing to trade. And then we can sort of trade off of what happens depending on in what order or how it happens. So when I play this forwards here, you'll see that price actually didn't play lower, which is fine. It played bullish within the bullish range that we had between this point and this point. It's actually highlighted in red. And we ran the high. Now from here we ran the high, we pushed up slightly, and then we've broken down with the I believe it was the NFP on Friday, which has actually shifted us into the bias that we want to follow, which is higher time frame bearish. So let's get on to our new chart here, which we have, and this is the chart for the ideas we have this week. So you can see the breakdown that we just spoke about right there, and you can see the potential scenarios that we're looking at this week. Now, remember, every single area we show you, every single arrow that's on the screen, is all based off of a theoretical idea that we would like to see play out. We do not trade directly based off of these. We look at what the potential is, and if these begin to line up with what price action shows us, then we take trades. Remember, we don't just put these out and say, unless we trade within these arrows, we're not trading it. We trade what price shows us and how price behaves depending on the ideas that we have in mind. So based off of this, what we're looking at is this major liquid low here. We're looking at this being liquidated. Now, of course, price is coming down very, very aggressively towards this point. We've broken structure on the 4 hour time frame, leaving a very large area of unmitigated supply, aligning with the higher time frame. So potentially we could see price sweep out this low and retrace back into this area for then what we would like to see, which would be a nice trending sell-off. Remember, again, all of this is theoretical. Until price starts to actually play out and begins to line up with our overall idea, we just let price do its thing, and if it doesn't run the way we want it to run, we just let it do its thing. Remember, it's always trading what we see, not what we want to see or what we expect to happen. We're trading what price is actually doing. So if we run this low here and we push higher, we're looking to sell out of this area of supply. The other option here is that we run down and we don't pull back. Remember, we don't have to have a pullback. We can just run lower, have a very minor shift back into unmitigated area, and then continue to run lower. Now, As it stands, we do not have the 4-hour low in place. So we have a high, we have no 4-hour low, so we are still looking for that low to be created. Hence why we have this push back up, because what I'm expecting is the low to be formed after we liquidate the previous structural low. So we're using the old liquidity to create a new point of liquidity. Again, there isn't really much we can do until we have a retrace within here, or we run the low and we start going short-term bullish. So there isn't a huge amount to cover on euro. Overall, this area above is the zone I want to sell from, and until we actually form a 4-hour range and we pull back or create a smaller range that we can trade within, we are waiting for price to become more consistent and line up with the trending movement. Now, of course, there will be lower time frame entries that you can take, but as I've said before, the analysis and ideas for those are given out in our Discord, and our students are actively trading those. So if you want to sort of get an insight to those, Discord, the link is down below. So moving over to gold, let's go back to what we had last week. So the gold markup right here, we were still covering the same 4-hour range that we had on the week previously. Remember, if you want to go and preview the week prior to this, make sure you find the video for that, or just scroll down through the trading view. We were looking for price to close out below this low and either run bearish, creating a new bearish range. So again, this is what this high is based off of. Create a new low, pull back, sell off, continuing this bearish structure. Or we're expecting price to create a low, the range to fail, and then it to run bullish. We know the higher time frames we are bullish on this, but we are currently within a bearish narrative on price. So when we play this here, you can see we had exactly that. We closed out below the 4-hour low, put in a new low, we had the previous high, we pulled back, sold off, and from here we pushed higher. After we had that higher push, we sold off with NFP, the same as euro. So heading over to the chart for this week's idea, we have the chart right here, and we have a similar scenario for gold, which is to be expected somewhat because they are relatively similar, but a lot of the time they don't have the same characteristics. Now, you can see the idea that we have in place is price to be bearish within the range that it sits, which at the moment it is. We're looking at this major low right here for liquidity. We still have no low placed within the 4-hour. So we broke down through all these previous lows. We're creating higher time frame swing structure to the downside. We're looking for price to do a similar thing to euro. Now, the option here is that we come down, take out this low, we form our 4-hour low, then we pull back, as you can see depicted here. Ultimately, from there, we expect price to sell off. The other option is that we create the low, we pull back partially, and we sell off again. The other option is that we create this low, we pull back very minor, and then we sell off some more. And the other option that we have ultimately is price to create this low, push higher, and then go through here. Now, we haven't highlighted that. Now, the reason for that is because it's a very large move we'd be anticipating in this element. So we're keeping it range bound, and you'll notice this. We could have another arrow here, pointing to this, and then we could have another arrow here, and so on and so forth. You don't want to over predict what price is going to do, so keep it within the range that you are currently in. And if it plays outside of that, you can begin to trade accordingly. So we're looking for liquidation of the low sitting at 2779. That we're hoping is going to create our range low. If it does, we will look for a pullback within this range and then potentially more of a sell-off, or we're looking for a smaller time frame range to be created to then break, which we may be able to trade back up into the highs. But again, this is a very large expectation for this price action. There's only so much price action you'd expect to get out of a given amount of sessions, so keep that in mind. So guys, that wraps up the brief overview that we have for euro and gold. Thank you for joining us again this week. We really do appreciate it. As I stated at the beginning, all of the good stuff is down in the description. A like is completely free. A comment is completely free. If you want to give us that, that is more than appreciated. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Have an amazing trading week. Peace out.